will be carrying the flag at the opening ceremonies on Friday. Bill O'Reilly has your message of the day. Next.
Everything is expensive these days. You know that. The government is printing trillions of dollars and consumer prices higher than ever. But there are a few things you can do right now. American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your money, your retirement, your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. Start with a short phone call, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your 401k or IRA. So please call or text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532.
Man, what a great party you're throwing here. This wasp nest is great.
Yeah, man, we got about 70 wasps in here.
Too bad we can't fit any more wasps in here. It looks like they're having fun outside, stinging all the kids. Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
In the fast-paced world of digital marketing, making connections is a challenge for any business. But what if we told you there is a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency. We don't just follow trends, we set them. At 2060 Digital, we're not just another agency, we're your strategic partner. We dive deep into your challenges and develop solutions that drive measurable outcomes. Ready to elevate your digital presence with campaigns that connect? Google 2060 Digital today.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Tuesday, politics isn't that complicated. It's only about one thing: power. When you read Confronting the Presidents, which will be out on September 10th, the book is all 45 men and whether they hurt or helped the country. And some of it is going to really stun you, what they really did. But our system is fairly simple. The federal government is run like a corporation. That's number one. But instead of making money, that's what the corporations want to do, the federal government seeks power. Once a CEO or a president starts to lose power in the corporation or in the federal government, they're doomed unless they can make some kind of stunning comeback, right? Like Trump has done. Trump has made a stunning comeback. Nobody will admit that, but he has. So Biden in the Democratic corporation lost an enormous amount of power. Now, I saw that this time last year, 23, because of the high prices for everything, the open border madness, the Iranian craziness, the Chinese causing trouble in the Pacific. Everywhere, Biden was losing power. Everywhere. So I've been doing this 50 years. When I see that, I know the person in charge is gone. It's like a baseball or football manager or coach. The team loses consistently, they're gone. It's as simple as that. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Okay, let's go to the mail. We got Jim Young, Castle Rock, Washington. You and I don't always agree, O'Reilly, but damn, you nailed it on Biden's departure. Good thing I watch your show. It is a good thing. It is a good thing. If you want honest news and stay ahead of the curve, it's a good thing you watch the No Spin News. Garen Walter, Woodland, California. I just want to thank you for making me look like a savant. When I started telling people months ago that Joe Biden was going to drop out of the race, they looked at me like I was crazy. But now I'm an oracle. There you go. You guys feel free to steal anything I say. You can and use it for your own purposes. You have my permission. Carla, you have to wonder whose idea it was to debate Trump in June. Seems like there's a Brutus on Team Biden. This is Biden's decision. Biden and Jill thought he could get through it based on the State of the Union and this and that. Edward, concierge member. Edward has direct access to me. That will enhance your life. Become a concierge member. You'll save money because we give you big discounts on everything, and you get in trouble, I'll help you. So Edward says, to all deniers and haters, can't wait to watch the Trump-Harris debate. Thank you, Bill, for keeping us rooted in logic and rational thinking. That debate will be historic, no doubt about it. Trump better bring his discipline. Maureen, good afternoon, Mr. O. You're right on about Biden. Now, could you pass on the winning lottery numbers? I'm not an oracle. I just know what's going on better than pretty much anyone else, he says humbly. Gary Balsamo, Charlotte, North Carolina. In order to add credibility to Kamala's campaign, smart would be to get her installed as president now or soon. Can't get her installed in anything. Biden's not going to go out that way. He's not going to do it. In a moment, something you might not know. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty at all, listen up. Car Shield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that's now available to the public. Save on out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. So please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-925-7584 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low in price. Drivers who activate the vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote, 800-925-7584, 800-925-7584. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-925-7584.
If the time has come to sell the house, you know you're empty nesters now, the kids are gone. Why do we need all these bedrooms? Yeah, selling the house may be a good idea. A better idea when you want to sell your house is to go to the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. That's our great friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, who are so good at this, they sell 15 times more homes than your average realtor. So let them help you sell your house. Just go to Rodney and Jen Wallner. Right, Mike Ferguson?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Vic. As a matter of fact, the first time I talked to Rodney and Jen about this cabin project that my wife and I have, they looked at all the factors and said, if I were you, I'd wait. When was the last time you heard somebody in real estate say, wait, don't buy something right now? Well, he knew the market conditions were going to change, and they did to our favor, but that shows how good they are at this and how honest and ethical Rodney and Jen Wallner are. That's why I won't work with anybody else. You shouldn't either. Give them a call today, 314-810-SOLD.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 50 years ago today, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the White House to give Congress all materials related to the Watergate scandal. That included secret audio tapes of President Nixon discussing the cover-up. 2 weeks later, Nixon resigned. Here is the story. In June 1972, a group of men were arrested at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C., while breaking into the Democratic Party's national headquarters. The suspects had loose ties to the White House. They were called plumbers. President Nixon denied any involvement, but his staffers eventually were implicated. The president's aides eventually revealed the existence of taped White House conversations. Well, President Nixon refused to release the audio on grounds of executive privilege. On July 24th, 1974, the Supreme Court ordered Nixon to surrender the recordings. The tape showed the President of the United States knew about the break-in, the subsequent cover-up, and the hush money payments. Members of the House began impeachment hearings immediately. 2 articles were passed, one for abuse of power, the other for contempt of Congress. Nixon's approval rating tumbled to 24%. On the evening of August 8th, 1974, Richard Nixon became the first commander-in-chief to resign from office. And here's something else you might not know. If Nixon were president today, some believe he might have been saved by the Supreme Court. Earlier this month, the justices ruled that presidents have broad immunity for official acts. That means the chief executive is shielded from most criminal prosecutions or lawsuits for actions related to core executive powers. However, any president can be prosecuted for unofficial acts. Well, what are those? That's what is now being ruled upon in the federal courts. There is no doubt that Watergate break-in, cover-up, and hush money payments were illegal. But it remains unclear whether today some federal courts would force the president to hand over those tapes. I think they would. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of recent timeshare industry changes? Now more than ever, the costs of timeshare ownership far outweigh the benefits. My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you get out. Our listeners' positive feedback demonstrates why I've supported the company for years. For more than a decade, they have helped over 20,000 owners get out of the timeshare. Their exclusive options can help you get out faster and easier, more than any other option in the country. They are the only company that will give you a written guarantee and release you from your timeshare in a specific time frame. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews, customer service is their top priority. For free consultation and a guaranteed solution, please call 855-551-7066. That's 855-551-7066, or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion. YHD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The director of the Secret Service is stepping down from her job, White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In the face of bipartisan pressure, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle submitted her resignation 10 days after the assassination attempt against former President Trump. In an email to staff, Cheadle said she takes full responsibility for the security lapse. Her resignation came on the heels of Monday's Congressional Committee hearing, where she was berated for hours by both Democrats and Republicans for the security failures. President Biden said he plans to appoint a new director soon. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Meanwhile, as newly minted Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris hits the campaign trail in Wisconsin today, House Speaker Mike Johnson says President Biden should leave office after ending his campaign.
One thing is clear. If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to run the country. We're stating the obvious. We're stating what everybody is seeing with their own eyes. And it's a hard truth, but it's one that the country has to face.
While California Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu says President Biden's departure from the race does not mean he's suddenly unfit for office.
You know how you have pro athletes, like a quarterback takes a team that's like 4 years ago not doing well, and then now takes them to having a winning victory and says, you know, I'm going to retire next year. Doesn't mean that quarterback can't play this year.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is resigning from office August 20th following his conviction for taking bribes for corrupt acts, including acting as an agent of the Egyptian government. That according to a letter he sent to New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 57 points, the Nasdaq dropped 10, the S&P lower by 8. More details at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
Opposing Palestinian factions Hamas and Fatah have sought common ground in China-sponsored talks in Beijing. More on the story from international correspondent Charles de Ledesma reporting from London.
Chinese state media says Palestinian factions Hamas and Fatah have signed a declaration in Beijing on ending a years-long rift. Multiple previous rounds of talks meant to unite the sides have failed, casting doubt over whether the China-sponsored negotiations might actually lead to a resolution. The declaration comes as Israel and Hamas are weighing an internationally backed ceasefire proposal that would wind down the 9-month war and free dozens of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. But even after a deal is signed, the vision for a post-war Gaza remains in doubt, specifically over who should rule the war-ravaged territory. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. What are the most disaster-prone areas of the United States? Well, the answers might not be as obvious as you think. We hear more on the story from correspondent Donna Warder reporting.
An atlas of several hundred federal declared disasters was created by New York University's Institute for Public Knowledge. It says that the earthquake and hurricane-prone parts of the country are not the biggest disaster areas. Instead, it's 8 counties in Kentucky and 1 in Vermont. And these 9 counties have each had more than a dozen federal declared disasters since 2011. Amy Chester, director of the nonprofit disaster prevention focus group called Rebuild by Design, says Tennessee, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Iowa, and Alaska are also hot spots when it comes to places where there constantly are serious storms. I'm Donna Warder.
More on these stories available at townhall.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We still have a chance for some spot showers or thunder showers through the evening, although after sunset, most of them tend to fade away. These are pretty small, so most of us stay dry, but just a heads up, some of us will get a quick shower. And then overnight tonight, low of 71, pretty muggy start, patchy fog in the morning, a high of 91, a little hotter Wednesday afternoon, about a 15% chance again the afternoon to evening for one of these stray showers or thunder showers. Thursday, it's about a 20% chance, slightly better chances, but they are pretty isolated. 89 for the high on Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Looking to get a new carpet, hardwood, or tile installed quickly and efficiently in your home? Look no further than Michaels Flooring Outlet. Michaels Flooring Outlet is a family-owned and operated business with a 30-year history of offering a diverse array of high-quality options in flooring. My parents and in-laws used Michaels to rip up their old carpet and replace it. They are both happy with the product and installation from Michaels. You can shop at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Darting Prairie, or St. Peters, or you can check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Re-elect State Representative Tony Lavasco. Tony Lavasco eliminated licenses for home-based businesses. Tony Lavasco, rated 100% by the American Conservative Union. Tony Lavasco, the only candidate endorsed by Missouri Right to Life and by the NRA. Tony Lavasco, the only choice for small, limited government. On August 6th, vote Liberty. Vote Lavasco.
I'm Tony Lavasco, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Citizens for Lavasco. Dan Rakers, Treasurer.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but
Now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle has resigned her post. It comes 24 hours after her blistering hearing in front of the House Oversight Committee investigating the attempted assassination of Donald Trump during his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. During that contentious hearing, lawmakers from both parties called on her to resign, signaling frustration with her refusal to directly answer questions, citing the ongoing investigation into the shooting. Director Cheadle accepting full responsibility, calling it the agency's most significant operational failure in decades.
4:08, and welcome into the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. If you are watching on stream, you don't see me, nor do you see my partner, Tim Jones. We are both in Denver, Colorado today for the 51st annual A.L.E.C conference. We will be here for the next couple of days. Tim was caught in traffic on the way to the hotel, so he's going to join us a little later in the show. Joy, I almost did not make it on time to be on air.
Oh, praise be.
Praise be. We got here literally about 20 minutes before the show started. And thank God I have a IT wife who can handle all this technology and get it all going.
You know, Susie Moore's just been standing here waiting for you to apologize about this whole Secret Service lady dropping out.
You know what? You must be reading my mind, because I was going to mention Miss Susie Moore. I got to give her a huge shout out. She predicted that Miss Cheadle would not last too long. I think she was off by 10 or 12 hours, but we'll give her that, half a day. I really don't see how she could have survived after that blistering House committee hearing yesterday. I mean, we've lost a lot of decorum in Congress right now. So people cursing on the floor or yelling out during State of the Union addresses doesn't surprise me all that much anymore. But to hear the Congresswoman yesterday, I forgot her name, who basically said that Ms. Cheadle was full of shiznit, was amazing to me. And there's no way that she could have survived. Joy, I think, now we all know that Kamala Harris is going to be the presumptive nominee, is going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. She has wrapped up. She has enough delegates now to win the nomination. She's got just about all of the endorsements of the Democratic elite, the party faithful, and some she doesn't, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But I think yesterday, let's put it this way. I think Ms. Cheadle resigning today was the first official act of Vice President Kamala Harris's ascension to the presidency as the nominee. I think that, Joe Biden, of course, doesn't fire anybody. Mayorkas should be fired. There's a whole host of people within this administration that should be fired. So we knew that he wasn't going to fire Ms. Cheadle. But I think Kamala Harris, her people, basically said, hey, we don't need this right now with Ms. Cheadle and Secret Service and all this controversy right now. We're trying to do a new chapter. Kamala is the nominee now, and we just don't need something like this hanging over us right now. And I think somebody went to Ms. Cheadle and said, it's time. It's time for you to resign. And I think that the person that designated that resignation was Kamala Harris. So, Joey, I think that was our first official act, I think, of Kamala Harris basically taking over the party. And I mean, you warned me last Friday because it's Kamala, and I want to say Kamala from the great wrestler, but I think that was her first official act yesterday, was getting rid of this woman. Let me tell you, before we go more into my commentary today, my monologue for the show, I want to tell you who we have as guests today. Of course, every Tuesday we have David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. We're going to talk to him about Quick Trip is suing St. Charles City over a sales tax dispute. We're also going to talk to him about exempting childcare facilities from taxes. Is that a good or bad idea? We'll talk to David Stokes at 424 about that. 445 will be Chris's Corner. We'll probably just go over some of the latest political news, campaign news of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump. Get some of the reactions of Republicans since Joe Biden has stepped down. So that'll be Chris's Corner at 4:45. At 5:07, my partner will be with me, Tim Jones, of course. We're going to speak with Representative Jim Murphy. He is here at A.L.E.C as well, here in Denver. He is the Missouri A.L.E.C State Chair. So we will talk with Jim Murphy about why Tim and I are here, and what is A.L.E.C and what are they looking to accomplish this weekend. I am here representing Americans for Citizens voting for A.L.E.C, and you guys who have listened to this radio station and to this show long enough know that I'm involved with Americans for Citizens voting. My wife is as well. She will be presenting ballot legislation, model ballot legislation, they call it, for non-citizen voting for other states to look at that model and amend their state constitutions to say that only United States citizens can vote, which I think is a very good idea. And look at my sheet here. Back up, find my thing here. So we got at 5:07. We're going to have within the 5:07, 5:21. We're going to have Speaker Stump speech, and we have another guest. Yes, at 5:24. Oh, how could I forget? Dr. Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL on Saturday mornings from 6 to 9. He will join us at 5:24. Can't wait to talk to the good doctor about all of the events that are happening around the country with our politics. And while I'm doing the show, I'm looking at my text message, and I think my partner Tim Jones is with us. Tim, how are you?
Good afternoon, Chris, Joey, everybody in News Talk STL Nation. Yeah, Chris and I live from Denver. Chris, we're at the Mile High. We're in the Mile High city.
We are the Mile High, but it's a little hazy here today. I was expecting when we landed, to see mountains and beautiful scenery, and it's just haze all around. Is that global warming, Tim, or what?
No, Chris, guess who we get to blame it on? I asked a local about that. I got here yesterday morning, so I did a little research. Chris, it's the fault of California, of course. It's the California wildfires and the Canadian wildfires that are blowing that haze in. Chris, I feel like we should get a refund on the hotel rooms here because we're supposed to have mountain views, and there's no mountains.
And Becky mentioned that too yesterday. She's like, "Hey, we got a mountain view for our hotel, and all we're seeing is haze." Yeah. And I was looking forward to that. I was here in 2014 for about a week, and that was the first time I had ever been here, and I was just mesmerized by just the mountain views. The airport is set, around the mountains. So I was looking forward to that, Tim, while we were coming in. And all it was haze. And I think that haze caused a whole lot of turbulence because we had a rough ride landing here today.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, because of the fact that marijuana, recreational, has been here legal for quite a while, it might be a purple haze, my friend. It could be.
That could be that. I told this story before. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say, I love Colorado. I'm glad we're here. I don't love their politics. They have a very interesting governor, Chris, that we'll have to talk about during the week because he's going to speak. The Democratic governor of Colorado is going to speak at the A.L.E.C conference this week, proving that A.L.E.C is a nonpartisan organization. Yeah, Governor Polis, because apparently Governor Polis is close with Dr. Art Laffer, and he is not opposed, Governor Polis, to tax cuts and tax reform. That may be his one redeeming quality, probably saving Colorado from the abyss of California. Because, Chris, there are millions of Californians flooding out of the Golden State every year to move to the Mile High City.
I mentioned this story once before on the show, so forgive me if you all have heard this before. But on our first trip to Denver, you mentioned, Tim, I think Colorado was one of the first or the first state to legalize marijuana. And when we were turning in the car at the airport, one of the attendants told us that a lot of people buy recreational marijuana while they're here. But of course, they can't take it on the plane with them or go through security. So they just leave it in the car. And the rental guys are like, man, we find all kind of marijuana. People just leave it in the car. And I didn't ask them what they did with it. That was none of my business.
Maybe that's a benefit of working for Enterprise or Alamo.
Exactly. Exactly. Tim, I brought the show in today with the resignation of, what's her name? Kim Cheadle? What's the
Cheadle, I think. Cheadle. Yeah.
Of her resignation today, which was kind of expected. No one really thought she could survive. But Tim, I brought up a interesting idea, and I think it's interesting that Miss Cheadle being fired may have been the first official action of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris may have gotten wind to them that, hey, we don't want all this controversy swirling around while we're trying to unite the Democratic Party. Tell this woman from me, she's got to go. What do you think?
I actually agree with that. And look, Chris, I don't think it was an accident at all. Actually, some of the fellas, some of the golfing buddies I have on Sunday, they are big fans of News Talk STL. They listen to our show. And so, of course, we finished playing. We all sat down, and then the news broke at 1 p.m. Central, conveniently right after the Sunday talk shows were over, and on a weird Sunday afternoon. And one of them said, how about the fact that Cheadle's supposed to testify on Monday before Congress? Coincidence? We think not. I think this was a connection. I think you put your thumb on that. You've hit the bullseye there, Chris. And I think this is the Harris maybe giving a nod to say, look, I'm not going to do everything exactly like Joe Biden. One of the biggest knocks, Chris, on the Biden administration the last 3.5 years, now from Democrats as well as Republicans from day one, is that the Biden administration has been the least transparent, least accountable administration we've had in modern times. So this is a break from that, right? Chris, who's been fired or resigned before now? Maybe there's been some, that weird dude who pretended to be a girl with the mustache, was stealing the luggage, maybe that guy. But beyond that, nobody major, nobody big. And this was a big deal. Chris, the head of the Secret Service forced to resign. And that was because there was bipartisan outrage. I watched some of the testimony yesterday, and she could not remain on the job. I was not surprised when she resigned this morning. I was surprised, though, that the Biden-Harris administration actually had someone from their upper orbit get a pink slip.
Dude, when you got A.L.E.C all up in your grill, you know that your time is limited in that office. That should have been the thing, right? The barometer right there to show that you don't have much time. Look, Tim, I'm going to do a programming note here. We're going to cancel Chris's Corner, and I want to talk with you because you weren't on the air with me yesterday, and so much news happened over the weekend and happening today. I think we ought to discuss that. Some of these developments instead of doing a Chris's Corner and
really
catch
amazing.
up on some of that stuff.
Chris, the world, I know a lot of people have said this, but it's true. The world has changed. And it is the world, right, Chris? Because the United States of America, as the lone superpower, the things that happen to the upper echelons of power in our country, they have massive effects all around the globe. And to prove that point, you were seeing people from prime ministers to presidents of other countries weighing in with various statements about Joe Biden not running it. So this is a freaking big deal. It hasn't happened since LBJ. Those were very different circumstances. So this circumstance has never happened before, where you have the president of the sitting party retiring from the race. But Chris, the question is, if he's not healthy enough to run for re-election, why is he healthy enough to remain president of the United States for 4 more months? Now, I want him to stay there. And I want Kamala Harris to remain the candidate. We can talk about why later on at 4:45. But on the other hand, what a weird world we live in, where these Democrats get to apparently deny democracy and basically just do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah, that's why we're going to cancel Chris's Corner, because I want to talk about that 25th Amendment thing. I think the argument is correct. It's right. But what frightens me, Tim, is having Kamala Harris go into this election as the incumbent. And the incumbents, they have built-in advantages, built-in perks. But even worse than that, God forbid, what if we have some type of terrorist event in this country, and through some stroke of luck, Kamala looks presidential, and you know what I'm saying? She looks presidential, and it's like, oh my God, she's going to be the next president because of this event. So I get the argument about the 25th Amendment, but nah, keep Joe Biden there. I don't want her to be the incumbent. I don't want that opportunity for her to look presidential.
Chris, I'll challenge you on one thing. She hasn't
All
looked
right.
vice presidential in 3.5 years,
Yeah, that's
so I'm
true.
not sure she can look presidential. However, Chris,
That's true.
what if it was all a fake, right? What if she was being dumb on purpose? And now that she gets to be the woman, maybe she becomes it. Because, Chris, the media is trying to tell us that, right? I'm sure you talked about this yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
The media is trying to argue, the left-wing media, they're trying to argue that because Kamala has to step into the role of running for president, they're arguing that she's suddenly some different person than she's been the last 3.5 years. They're saying, well, Republicans want to paint her as this goofy, giggling, cackling, crazy person. I'm sorry. How has she not been that, right? And so they're going to try to convince us she's presidential, but can she do any of the job? And what if she is still the same old Kamala? And what if 10 days from now, the Democrats are going, boy, did we screw that up. Maybe we should have had Wes Moore. Maybe we should have had Gretchen Whitmer. Maybe we should have had Pritzker or Newsom. Time's going to tell, but they seem overly enthusiastic about someone who's been an absolute disaster, Kamala Harris, over the last 3.5 years.
Man, we got a lot to talk about today. Program note there, Joey. Dave Stokes just texted, said he's at the door. Tim, I really want to talk more later in the show about this. Should we say that the Democrats have stolen democracy regarding their primary? I don't know if that is a good argument. I think a better argument is to argue that, hey, you've been next to this man for 3.5 years. You didn't see that he had issues. When did you know he was not well and all of that? I think that's a better argument for us than saying that the Democrats are stealing democracy. Because if you look at the polls, 80% of Democrats want Joe Biden gone. They're excited. They have sent all types of money to the party. And two, all of those delegates that Joe Biden won during the primaries, Kamala Harris's name was on the ballot too. It was the Biden-Harris ticket. So I think she has a legitimate claim to those delegates.
Yeah, and so I agree. And I think you say it one time, right? You say it one time, you say it for a couple days that they have defied the party of so-called democracy has defied democracy. But then I agree, Chris, you let it go. And the problem with Donald Trump is, look, I love Donald Trump. I think he's hilarious. I love his policies. Those were some of the best times that we've had as a family and many, many Americans have had around the country. But he tends to dwell on things that maybe you make a point of and move on. Donald Trump does need to move on and talk about what a failure that Kamala and Joe. Just flip it around now. Just say Harris, Biden. They've both been part and parcel of a failed administration. And yes, Chris, that's what we should focus on for the next 5 days until the election.
I agree. Big show today. We're way over. We'll be back with David Stokes at 4:27. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
What the hell do you have to lose?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We still have a chance for some spot showers or thunder showers through the evening, although after sunset, most of them tend to fade away. These are pretty small, so most of us stay dry, but just a heads up, some of us will get a quick shower. And then overnight tonight, low of 71, pretty muggy start, patchy fog in the morning, a high of 91, a little hotter Wednesday afternoon. About a 15% chance again the afternoon to evening for one of these stray showers or thunder showers. Thursday, it's about a 20% chance, slightly better chances, but they are pretty isolated. 89 for the high on Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
You lose, you Dixon Notch. Yeah. You lost America. I saw it etched on coins up here.
This is News Talk STL.
Hey, Chris Arps here telling you about my favorite bank, Royal Banks of Missouri, which, of course, is a full-service, locally owned and operated independent community bank. Royal Banks offers 17 convenient banking locations throughout St. Louis, including in St. Charles, Granite City, Jerseyville, Hannibal, and Rawls County. Now, you remember back in November, I took a cruise and didn't bring any cash with me. Had to use the ATM on the ship, and they practically robbed me. You don't have to worry about that at Royal Banks of Missouri. Their 200 ATMs across the Midwest give you free access to ATM transactions and withdrawals. Check out my friends over at Royal Banks of Missouri. If you're looking for a personal or business bank, contact them and look them up at royalbanksofmissouri.com, royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank for your community.
Liberal mega donors are always looking for new rhinos to do their bidding. And with Adam Schnelting, they found their new star. Adam Schnelting has already backed their radical plan to defund our police. And he skipped countless important conservative votes. Skipped a vote to protect kids from sexually explicit materials in school. And skipped a vote to protect churches from junk lawsuits. It's no wonder Adam Schnelting is bankrolled by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's top funders. Bill Cristofanelli is the only leader we can trust to protect our conservative priorities. When radicals tried to defund the police, Bill Cristofanelli passed record funding from Missouri's law enforcement. When Joe Biden left our southern border wide open, conservative Bill Cristofanelli banned sanctuary cities and voted to send Missouri National Guard troops to secure the border. Vote Bill Cristofanelli, the proven conservative, for state senate.
Gladius PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Gladius PAC, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far.
Don't worry, baby.
Former President Donald Trump has just released a statement, and here's part of that. It's a quote. "She never gave me proper protection, so I ended up having to take a bullet for democracy," end quote. He told Fox News Digital, again a quote, "Many requests were made by on-site Secret Service for more people, always with a turn down or no response." And he went on to say, "I have the biggest crowds in history, and they should be treated accordingly."
4:30 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim, you got to give Donald Trump one thing. He is a master marketer, and he has a way with words, especially in the political sphere. I took a bullet for democracy. Could you script a better statement than that?
It's beautiful. It's the best statement ever, Chris, of course. And he's right. He's right. I was listening to some experts talking about the trajectory of that bullet. It literally, Chris, we're in a whole different world, a better, happier world than we could have been by about 3 millimeters. Can you imagine? We'd be having a funeral right now, and the country would be in a very deep, dark place.
Let's get to our regular Tuesday guest, David Stokes.
David Stokes over at the Show Me Institute. In high school, you talk about spike. I had a very short spike. It was spiked.
I knew there's a spike somewhere in that stuff.
It wasn't very punky. It was more Leave It to Beaver-ish, maybe.
And as he does every Tuesday, David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, you can't see me, but I can see you, and you need to smile, my friend. You're looking way too serious.
Well, I'm lonely here in the studio, all by myself. Although I have Joey here, I'm lonely.
Yeah. Why do you always choose my chair?
Because I can actually see the video cameras from here, so I can see you and Tim.
Okay, all right. Let's get to business here. Quick Trip is suing St. Charles City over a sales tax dispute. What's the deal?
Well, this is a very interesting case. It has to do with the St. Charles City tourism tax, which is applied to restaurants and hotels, a few other things in the city of St. Charles to allow St. Charles to promote itself. So this is not some general sales tax which goes to important public services, roads, police, parks, whatever. This is just sort of their tourism tax, which is probably fairly superfluous. I don't think these type of local taxes do much good, but that's beside the point. The dispute is that for years, if you read the law, pretty clearly it's set for prepared foods, meaning restaurants who make you food, and you have to pay that extra 1% tax on that. And for years, Quick Trip has not paid the tax on most of the goods they sell because they're not like prepared at a restaurant. They're just a bag of chips. It's not the stuff that the tax has generally been applied on. It has been applied at the deli counters of these QTs because that's obviously fits under the more like the restaurant style of it. So, but now sort of in a quick decision, the St. Charles City Finance Department just decided in the recent year or so that Quick Trip owes all this money for not collecting this tax on the rest of their food and drink sales for the past several years. And they filed a lien against the Quick Trip, and they've threatened to withhold Quick Trip's liquor licenses in the city, which is obviously that's a serious deal. So Quick Trip has sued, and I certainly think Quick Trip is in the right here. And I know that I'm somebody who's on this show and many other places, including some letters to the editor about the child care tax abatement that we'll all be voting on in a couple weeks. I'm a big fan of spreading the tax base as wide as possible and not giving out these special exemptions. But I do think this is an exception because this is the way it had always been done. When it was passed, it's for restaurant style food, not just, a bag of chips. And that's the way it had been done until one bureaucrat just decides to flip it, reinterpret the rules in a year or so ago. And I think Quick Trip has absolutely been victimized here. If you want to expand the tax base here to include all foods, groceries, convenience stores, and the like in St. Charles, we'll do that through legislation, not a bureaucratic decision that's not handled by the elected officials and the proper laws. So I think what St. Charles, the city, has done here is wrong, and I hope Quick Trip fights back. And they are fighting back, and I wish them success.
Quick follow-up. Do we know how much money Quick Trip is possibly on the hook for?
Oh, millions of dollars. The tax lien is for $4 million that the city of St. Charles has filed. And obviously withholding liquor licenses, which they threaten to do, but I understand are not doing, that is worth an enormous amount of money to a place like Quick Trip. So the tax lien is $4 million over the last several years. And so that's the type of money we're talking. A lot of money.
David, can you restate? I'm trying to give my best, most objective, fair legal analysis to this. I will say I'm a huge fan of Quick Trip. I don't believe I own any stock, although I have no idea with all the mutual funds and stuff these days. I'm not an employee or anything. I'm a big Quick Trip fan, but I'm trying to get the benefit out of the city of St. Charles. David, what was this tax originally supposed to be levied upon? And was it a city of St. Charles specific tax, or is this a regional or state tax?
No, it's the city of St. Charles specific tax. We have it in St. Louis, where it's the hotel where we fund our own tourism and convention efforts through a combination of hotel taxes and in the city of St. Louis restaurant taxes. And it's regional in the St. Louis area. It all goes to fund the Convention and Visitors Commission. In St. Charles,
but David, so this is the tourism tax that they're trying to say has to be collected on food that QT sells?
Yes, including unprepared food. And as it was originally written, QT, and nobody disputed that it had to be collected on their deli section where people sold prepared foods to go. Like you'd make a sandwich or you'd make whatever they have I don't eat in the QT deli section, so I'm not an expert on what's there.
It's delicious.
But
I do too.
But you got to get your Slurpee, which is probably a 7-Eleven. That's probably a 7-Eleven thing. But the point,
watch it, David. You're gonna get us sued next.
The point stands. So it's collected on these sort of food that is like a restaurant style food where you get something arranged. Right. But it was never intended, as all these articles seem to make clear, and as prior interpretations of the law in the Post-Dispatch article seem to make clear, that it was never just meant for the candy bar or the soda pop that you just buy there when you hit the road. And now it apparently is. And again, I like a wide tax base, but I don't like a wide tax base because some bureaucrats in the Department of Finance decide they want to collect more money. Let's do it the proper way through legislation and I don't even think it should be done in this case. Again, this is not some general sales tax that funds important services. This is their tourism tax. Like, part of me wants to say, who cares? That doesn't mean it shouldn't be properly collected, but I'm definitely on the side of Quick Trip here, that these sort of quick changes no pun intended, quick changes in interpretations of the law, they shouldn't suddenly owe millions of dollars in back taxes here.
Speaking with David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. David, there was a letter in the Post-Dispatch recently, and the writer said that exempting child care facilities from taxes is a terrible idea. Your thoughts?
Well, it was a wonderful letter, obviously. It was written by me, and I'd like to commend the Post-Dispatch as well as newspapers around the state for carrying it. As I said in our prior conversation, I'm a supporter of wide tax bases, but it has to be done right. And it has been done right for property taxes in regards to child care facilities. And this proposal that will be on the ballot in, I guess, is it 2 weeks? 2 weeks exactly on primary day, to exempt child care facilities around the state from property taxes, unless it's a home child care facility, like in somebody's house. But I think this is a terrible idea. Many child care facilities are for-profit businesses. The ones that aren't are like if your church has a child care facility, those are already tax exempt. So the idea that these for-profit businesses, for some reason, deserve to be exempt from property taxes, while all other for-profit businesses are not, this is going in the exact wrong direction of shrinking the tax base so that property taxes are going to be higher on everybody else who doesn't have this special exception. So I'm opposed to the city of St. Charles just through bureaucracy changing their sales tax code in that manner. But I'm also opposed to giving a special exception here to shrink the property tax base, even if just slightly, to give one type of for-profit business a special tax exemption that other for-profit businesses don't get. I think it's a terrible road to go down. What's next? I mean, all sorts of other businesses will say, well, we have a social benefit just like a child care agency or a daycare center does, so we deserve a tax exemption too. And then the next thing you know, taxes are higher on everybody else.
David Stokes hates children and senior citizens. Wants to tax them. Don't want to really give them any tax relief.
David's a big no on Constitutional Amendment 1, and I couldn't agree more with him, David. I think you hit the nail on the head there. David, speaking of bad ideas, we've spoken with you often and frequently about the idea of a universal basic income. I think the city of St. Louis, Mayor Tashara Jones, have been championing this idea. There's apparently been a study done. David, I'd love for you to tell our listeners about this study. Is it a fair study? Is it a slanted study? What from what vantage point is it coming from, and what did it say?
Well, it is a fair study. It was done by the people of some Silicon Valley investor types. It was managed by OpenAI, the major AI company, and sort of did this experiment themselves, and they did it scientifically. They were giving away large amounts of money to people in poverty for several years, and they sort of varied the amount given. It's similar in that regard to the Denver study that we discussed a month or so ago, which just released its findings. But this one showed when they studied the people, how did this affect people for a couple of years? It is not a good look for universal basic incomes or guaranteed income programs, whatever you want to call them. The people who receive this free money, sort of no strings attached welfare from this funding organization, it showed the key amount is that they worked less than they otherwise would have. And that's, it's not to say every single person in the study did, but in a statistically significant manner, the people who were receiving this money worked less. They were perfectly happy. They used more leisure time and they worked less. So look, we'd all like to have more leisure time in our life, and we'd all like to, I think many people would like to work a little less in their life. That said, that's not a way to get people out of poverty, to just, if you're going to take it to the tax dollar aspect of it, to just start sending people money and expect them to, the arguments of universal basic income, the supporters would say it's going to allow people to pay their food and their rent and their gas, and then work harder and get that better job and take that risk and do all that stuff that will allow them to get out of poverty and bring their children out of poverty. But the results of the Denver study and now this study don't show that at all. That, not surprisingly, the people who you just start sending money to, a fair number of them are just going to take that money and not do anything. They're just watch more TV or maybe go hang out at the park more. All fine things to do if that's what you choose to do with your own money. But if we're trying to break the cycle of poverty and lift more people into our middle class, the findings of this study and the prior Denver study, I think, are strong indications that just sending people an enormous amount of money, not an enormous, I shouldn't say that, just sending people money of $1,000 a month or so, it's not the way to do that. And now it's important to say that both of these programs in Denver and all of them around the country, they don't do anything about the current welfare state. There's a libertarian argument for universal basic income, which involves replacing the welfare state with this sort of set amount of money that you just send people without any strings attached. And that's a conversation maybe still worth having. But all these other programs are simply on top of, food stamps and temporary aid to needy families and a dozen other programs, Medicaid, a dozen other programs that people are eligible for, and the results from it are not positive. And yes, St. Louis City has its own small guaranteed income pilot program, which thankfully is on hold due to a judge's ruling injunction against starting it. And studies like this show that St. Louis would be better off not doing this project at all. And when I say better off, I mean, if you truly care about moving people out of poverty into the middle class, things like this that just tie people to the welfare state are absolutely what you don't want to do.
All right. Dave, we only have a couple of minutes, so I need a short answer, but I've got to ask you about this story in the Post-Dispatch that says 2 more county council employees got salary overpayments. How come when you and I worked for the county council about 20 plus years ago, we never got salary overpayments?
Well, our salaries are so low, Chris. I don't think anybody would have noticed if I recall. That said, right, this is not good accounting, and the fact that it started in the auditor's office is the craziest part of it all. That the auditor's office was overpaying the auditor and improperly giving raises, and still hasn't figured out a way to collect the money back. Obviously, the auditor should just pay it back, but if maybe
pay it back when it's spent.
Right, it's spent, and if she doesn't have $10,000 in her checking account, you can't just do it in 1 minute. But right, they've got to fix this, and it's definitely frustrating to see this. You can't just, there's a salary schedule for government employees for a purpose, so that you don't politicize it and just give your giant salary increases to political supporters and punish people you don't think are politically supporting you as much. I'm not suggesting that's what happened in the auditor's office. Mm-hmm. It's just bad accounting, which is doubly frustrating when the auditor's office is concerned. And they do need to get that money back. You don't get to just get a bonus in government service, and they've got to crack down. And if it's happening to more employees as well, they've got to fix it. And it's just one more black mark on the St. Louis County Auditor's Office, which, except for a couple of years in the late 2000s, like 2005 through 2010, going back like 30, 40 years, other than that brief period, it's just been a very poorly managed office for decades.
Well, it sounds like to me bad accounting is a euphemism for stealing, but we won't go into that. We have been speaking to David Stokes, Director of Municipal Policy at the Show Me Institute. You can reach him at showmeinstitute.org or on X or Twitter, David C. Stokes. David, thank you as always, my friend.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim. I'll see you guys in studio next week if you guys can, deign to make it in.
Well, we'll try.
Yes, sir.
Just for you.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Coming up, Chris's Corner, Tim and I are going to discuss the weekend events Kamala Harris's nomination, all of that. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Everything woke turns to shit, okay? Straight.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We still have a chance for some spot showers or thunder showers through the evening, although after sunset, most of them tend to fade away. These are pretty small, so most of us stay dry, but just a heads up, some of us will get a quick shower. And then overnight tonight, low of 71, pretty muggy start, patchy fog in the morning, a high of 91, a little hotter Wednesday afternoon, about a 15% chance again the afternoon to evening for one of these stray showers or thunder showers. Thursday, it's about a 20% chance, slightly better chances, but they are pretty isolated. 89 for the high on Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
You know, folks, it's summertime, and one of the most important things you need to do in the summer is drink lots of water. What kind of water, though, are you putting into your body? Is it fresh, clean, healthy water, or is it water that could use a filter or two? Hey, I want to tell you about Jones Air and Water. At Jones Air and Water, Everett Jones, his entire family, they specialize in air and water treatment products and services to enhance easier and better living in your home, your business, your industrial space, your commercial facility, and so much more. And they've been doing it for nearly 30 years. Yes, a multitude of 5-star ratings from the Better Business Bureau and so many social media platforms. Jones Air and Water, your one-stop shop to make the air and the water, two very important things that we all need in our homes, in our businesses, so much better. You've got the Topper drinking system. Yeah, reverse osmosis, delicious water. We have the tap at News Talk STL. I've got the tap at my Jones home. It's fantastic. It reduces so much plastic waste and clutter and expense. It pays for itself, and it's good tasting too, and it's good for you. The HTO system, which is basically the double tank whole home filtration system, fantastic. We've really been happy with ours. And how about those of you who own swimming pools, right? We're at the height of swimming pool season. Are you still cleaning your swimming pool water, which you literally are in, right? Completely submerged, with chlorine, with acid, with chlorine acid, acidity, or other nasty chemicals? Well, the EcoSmart system that Everett provides is chlorine-free, salt-free, and acid-free. Yeah, I'm not making it up. It's not too good to be true. At Jones Air and Water, you can buy filters from them and have everything cleaned air and water-wise in your home and your business, or you can be those filters. Don't make your human body those filters. Buy the filters from Jones Air and Water. Comes to your home or business for free, checks everything out. Really fantastic people to work with. I highly recommend them. 636-899-1040 or 24/7. You can see everything that they have to offer that I just mentioned and so much more. JonesWater.com. JonesWater.com.
Attention voters. The truth about Phil Cristofanelli may surprise you.
As state representative, Phil was endorsed by Promo, a Democrat-led LGBTQIA+ organization with extreme views.
Promo pushes for sex changes for kids, males and girls sports and bathrooms, and teaching gender confusion in schools.
Phil's record speaks for itself.
He voted to allow boys and girls sports.
And pushed to teach sexual orientation and gender identity in public schools.
Is this the leadership we want? Think carefully when you vote.
Paid for by Leadership for America PAC, John Royal, Treasurer.
Hey, Columbo here for the great cleaning pros at Zero Res. Summertime in St. Louis means barbecues, graduation parties, and spending time with friends and family. And Zero Res knows how important it is to have your home as clean and healthy as possible for your loved ones. So they have an amazing summer offer for you. Book a cleaning in July and mention the Columbo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and a 4th room free. Just mention the Columbo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for my friends at A.L.E.C Plumbing and Drain, and they truly are our friends because they have done it all at our house over the years, from putting in a new faucet to installing a whole new bathroom from scratch. The team at A.L.E.C has always done great work for a great price. A.L.E.C Plumbing and Drain is a local family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes in new construction and home renovation. Call A.L.E.C for your next project at 636-288-7126 or through Facebook at A.L.E.C Plumbing and Drain.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Well, the Harris train is leaving the station. All aboard or not? Will it stay on track through the convention or derail?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
I know yesterday's news is surprising and it's hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing, help me get this nomination. You know, the name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell, both as a sitting president, getting legislation passed, as well as in campaigning.
4:53 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and that is President Biden trying to reassure his supporters after the devastation they felt, I'm sure, that he dropped out. Tim, I got to get your thoughts on it. The speculation last week was that Sunday could possibly be the day he steps down. Got to give Susie Moore all credit. She called it, missed it by 12 hours. First off, I want to get your thoughts on this decision being done on a letter on Twitter.
It's all very odd, Chris. And I thought Vic Porcelli framed it perfectly yesterday when he said, why do the Democrats have to be so freaking weird about everything they do? This was one of the weirdest ways to bow out of a president. After you said, Chris, oh, he's fine. I'm fine. Everybody's fine. He's the most vibrant, vigorous president ever. So, Chris, two things can't be true. Either Joe Biden has been in massive decline for a long. You don't just wake up on Sunday and go, well, I'm just such a mess now. I just can't run for president. I just finally realized that. Either they're liars, or they think the American people are stupid. And it's one or the other, right? And the American people are not stupid because, you know why we know that, Chris? You and I are two of the American people that have been talking about this, along with everybody else on our station, for years. So the whole thing, Chris, was weird, the way it was done. I will say that I was wrong. I honestly thought there's no way you're going to drag Joe Biden. Well, I should probably rephrase. There's no way you're going to drag Dr. Jill and Hunter Biden and the rest of the Biden criminal crime family out of the White House. They had too much to gain, too much to lose. So, Chris, that leads me to my second question. What did the elitists and the oligarchs who run the DNC, what did they promise the Bidens to finally get them to this point where Joe Biden has to grudgingly step aside? And it is grudgingly, right? He's not happy about this. You can tell the manner in which it was done. You can tell that he does not want to hand the reins over to Kamala. I don't think he and Kamala actually get along very well. Yeah. They're going to try to pretend for the cameras. So long story short, I want to know what happened that brought the Bidens to this decision. And I want to know why the media hasn't apologized for basically lying to the American people, along with Kamala Harris, for the past several years.
I'm going to tell you what it exactly is, Tim. And this is not me. This is what the speculation and all the political papers are saying. It's a simple thing. The money dried up. The Katzenberg and the big donors were like, hey, this guy's not going to leave. The only way we're going to get him to bow out is to stop writing checks. And there were reports coming out saying that the money had completely dried up. Joey, can we get another minute?
For you, I'll make it happen.
I appreciate that. Tim, I want to get your thoughts on the initial letter and the lack of an endorsement of Kamala. He later did endorse her, and Barack Obama not endorsing her yet.
Yeah,
Your
Barack
thoughts?
Obama, yeah, Chris, the Barack Obama, King and Queen Obama, that's a bigger story. They're the closest thing that we've got to royalty, so say the Democrats here in our country. I think Joe Biden did a separate endorsement because Dana Perino explained this. She said, when it comes time to put together the Biden Presidential Library, those two things will be two different documents, right? And if Kamala crashes and burns, then they can basically separate that out from the decision not to run for re-election. The Obamas, yes, we are now several days into this. And despite the fact that Kamala has literally locked up enough delegates to be the candidate, Barack Obama has still not endorsed her. What's going on behind the scenes? What's been going on behind the scenes in Obama land for the last several months and years?
I mean, could it be just straight haterade that Barack was the first African-American president and he feels threatened that she's going to upstage him as not only being black, but the first woman president as well? Could it be that petty? Who knows?
Maybe. If it's not Kamala, Chris, who's their candidate, right? I mean, who's their candidate? If it's not her, I mean, eventually at some point, one of the most popular Democratic presidents in the modern age has to come out and endorse the actual candidate, right? I'm just wondering what he's waiting for.
507, Jim Murphy, Representative Jim Murphy will be with us. We'll have the speaker's stump speech. And at 524, Dr. Randy Tobler. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL from Denver, Colorado.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
This is Katie McKinney, founder and head of school for Lafayette Academy in Lake St. Louis. Recently, we had a new second grader come to Lafayette Academy who claimed he was stupid and hated reading. Within months of using our world-class literacy program, he was reading Harry Potter and loving it. He had just not been given the right tools. This is what true education is all about, giving our kids the tools so they can be successful. To learn more, go to LafayetteAcademy.org. That's LafayetteAcademy.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019 94.1 and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters, reporter. President Biden is reacting to the resignation of the director of the U.S. Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president, who had expressed support for Kimberly Cheadle after the Trump assassination attempt, issued a written statement thanking her for her public service. He said the independent review into the Trump rally security lapse will continue. Mr. Biden said, "We all know what happened that day can never happen again." And the president plans to appoint a new director of the Secret Service soon. Greg Clugston, Washington.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says a bipartisan task force announced today will still investigate the assassination attempt on former President Trump's life.
The task force that we'll be putting together is going to be very important. As I said, they have three responsibilities: to investigate what happened, the debacle that happened 2 Saturdays ago.
Israel's leader visits the U.S. Capitol in what is sure to be a high-profile test of diplomacy, politics, and security.
Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, visiting at a fraught time for Israel, the U.S., and Palestinians. At stake are hopes for progress in efforts to mediate an end to the 9-month Israel-Hamas war. The Israeli leader will meet with U.S. officials and be warmly welcomed by House Speaker Mike Johnson, who helped organize his address to a joint meeting of Congress on Wednesday. Biden has been recovering from COVID, but sources and the Israeli leader both say they are expected to meet.
This will be an opportunity to thank him for the things he did for Israel in the war and during his long and distinguished career in public service.
The White House says Vice President Harris will meet with him separately. Jennifer King, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 57 points. The Nasdaq dropped 10. The S&P 500 lower by 8. Oil dropped to $76.96 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
If you just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain, don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free. It's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
What does it take for organizations to triumph? It takes trust. But trust is getting harder and harder to gain, which is why over 2,700 organizations display the ECFA seal. The ECFA seal gives your organization the third-party credibility that people are literally looking for. And in turn, an estimated 14 million givers support ECFA-accredited organizations. Let us help you maintain a trusted reputation as you reach the world for Christ. Visit ecfa.org/triumph to learn more.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We still have a chance for some spot showers or thunder showers through the evening, although after sunset, most of them tend to fade away. These are pretty small, so most of us stay dry, but just a heads up, some of us will get a quick shower. And then overnight tonight, low of 71, pretty muggy start, patchy fog in the morning, a high of 91, a little hotter Wednesday afternoon, about a 15% chance again the afternoon to evening for one of these stray showers or thunder showers. Thursday, it's about a 20% chance, slightly better chances, but they are pretty isolated. 89 for the high on Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
During the COVID years, I was very disappointed by weak leadership dictating COVID tyranny and ridiculous, nonsensical rules. We had lost over 300,000 school days in St. Charles County that the children will never get back. The closing of businesses and mandates were unconstitutional and complete government overreach. I will always fight for your constitutional rights and your God-given freedoms and liberty. I'm Joe Browse, and I'm running for St. Charles County Council District 2. Vote August 6th. Thank you, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Citizens for Joe Brazel, Mike Summers, Treasurer.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
So what's going on?
Right here.
To me, this looks like the run-up to World War II.
News Talk STL.
They're playing with fire. Democrats are destroying the country.
News, analysis, opinion.
Let's talk a little Eureka Contracting and Roofing. 636-938-ROOF. 636-938-ROOF. EurekaContracting.com. Your one-stop shop for everything that you may need for your home, for your business, your commercial facility, because Rick Hinkson and the gang at Eureka Contracting and Roofing, they can fix anything that has been damaged or needs a rehab or what have you. Not just storm damage, wear and tear, the elements, just need a facelift, whatever it might be. Rick Hinkson and Eureka Contracting and Roofing, your one-stop shop for everything. Been in business since 2012, veteran-owned. There you go. You should want to help them, just to thank them. Fully insured, licensed, and bonded, and they're experts at their trade and their craft. How can I say this? I don't know this because I've worked with them. I've used them. Suzanne and I have used them multiple times for our home. Many people and many of my friends and many of my neighbors have utilized them as well. Everybody has been absolutely, completely, and totally happy. Residential roofing, commercial roof coating, siding, gutters, soffit, fascia, doors. Yeah, everything for the experience of any dwelling or facility that you may have. They've got the Carlisle Silicon roof coating system for your commercial and industrial building owners. And for your residential folks, back to you for a second, they work with your insurance company, not at odds with them, because they know that they know how to walk the walk, talk the talk. They've been in the insurance adjusting industry. They've been in the construction industry. They're using all that craft and trade and knowledge in their own business of Eureka Contracting and Roofing. 636-938-ROOF. As I told you, the number is EurekaContracting.com. They really are your one-stop shop. They're wonderful people. Yes, they're in my beautiful hometown of Eureka, but they service the entire region. Give them a call today, 636-938-ROOF, EurekaContracting.com, EurekaContracting.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
It's a happy day. What can I say? Together, we will keep and hopefully grow the Senate majority. And under future Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, we will win back the House. We see very clearly how nervous the Republicans are about our new nominee. Well, they ain't seen nothing yet. Vice President Harris will beat Donald Trump and become the next president of the United States of America. Applause.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Was that the most uncomfortable introduction to their candidate? Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Chris and I are both on the ground in beautiful, well, it's slightly hazy, Denver, Colorado. We're at the Mile High City for the A.L.E.C annual meeting. We're going to speak with Representative Jim Murphy here in just a second, who is one of the Missouri state co-chairs for A.L.E.C. He's, of course, here at the meeting. He's going to tell us about what we can expect and so on and so forth. Chris, nervous laughter, having to be told when to applaud. Maybe not the smoothest start. Maybe everybody is really a little nervous about this whole Kamala thing that they think is so wonderful.
I mean, I had a Jeb Bush flashback there from 2016 when Jeb Bush was begging people to applaud, that it's okay to clap. Look, the Democrats are trying to give this impression that they are unified, and the polls are showing that. But they're apprehensive, Tim, because they're afraid of this looking like a coronation for Kamala Harris. As I said, most of the people, 80%, want Joe Biden gone. They're not necessarily were sold on Kamala. They're being sold. She's being sold to them as that. But they still have some more selling work to do on her, I believe.
They do. One of the people who definitely wants Kamala Harris to be the candidate is joining us now. I asked him about this yesterday. We're going to have him go into some detail. He is State Representative Jim Murphy from the great county of St. Louis. He knows a thing or two about electioneering and elections. He joins us now, also here in beautiful Denver, Colorado. Representative, thanks for being with us this afternoon.
How are you?
You know, the only thing missing from that clip was Kamala laughing at the end of it. That would have made it perfect.
Absolutely, indeed. So, Jim, you mentioned to me when we heard about this news, we had both traveled out to Denver yesterday, and we were talking about this, that you're absolutely fine. In fact, you're excited that Kamala Harris was the one that the Democrats have chosen to go with. Why would you say that? What do you think about their choice? What do you think about Republicans' chances now in November? And will it affect us here in Missouri?
Well, frankly, if I had a choice from a competitive standpoint, there could not have been a better one. You know, here's a gal who started her whole career, by having an affair. And that got her into politics. She became a prosecutor who prosecuted people for marijuana, but let criminals go. When there were riots in the streets, she bailed out the rioters and said, "Oh, they were peaceful. They didn't mean to burn the city down." I mean, yeah, this is absolutely the person that I think we should go against because she's completely incompetent. Donald Trump is just going to eat her lunch. I am so pleased to have her. The only thing better would have been if Biden would have stayed now.
Mm-hmm. Representative Murphy, I think that the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party is going to get her first real test tomorrow because of all the upheaval that we've had in our own elections. We've kind of forgotten about Israel. But Prime Minister Netanyahu is due in Washington, D.C. tomorrow to give a speech before Congress. Kamala Harris, who would normally
she's bailing out.
She's skipping, and the Senate pro tem is bailing out too. Senator Patty Murray of Washington. She is supposed to preside as well. I want to get your thoughts on all of that.
Well, the Democrats have bailed out on Israel. That it started with Obama. Donald Trump came in and moved our embassy, and everybody said that was such a mistake. No, it was the greatest thing he's ever done. Yes. And we showed that we support Israel. It's the only true democracy in that part of the world. It's the only bright light that we can support. And for the Democrats to turn their back on that is just horrific. And it's showing their true colors. They're no longer pro-Israel. I don't understand why the Jewish community supports them at all. I really don't get that. But you're right. Her first test, day 3 in, she's going to fail it. And I think that's just the first of many, many, many coming down the road.
Speaking to State Representative Jim Murphy from the county of St. Louis, he's in the Missouri House of Representatives. He's currently in Denver, Colorado for a couple of days for the American Legislative Exchange Council's annual meeting. Jim, you're one of the co-chairs of the Missouri delegation. Would you tell our audience a little bit more about A.L.E.C? What is it, and why is it so important for you to be so willing to serve and volunteer your time to support the organization?
Well, A.L.E.C is a coalition of state legislators. I think we have 48. We're represented from 48 of the 50 states, and we have 2 annual meetings that we've come to, but we also have other meetings throughout the year that are training on specific items. But the greatest part about A.L.E.C is that we come here and we discuss the issues that affect all of our states. And you share ideas. And I will tell you, we've got 163 members in the House of Representatives. And I come here and I hear ideas that I've never heard before. And they're good. And I can use those and come back and make Missouri great. And that, it really takes it. It's a big country and there's plenty of great ideas out there. And A.L.E.C is the conduit for that. And every legislator that, should be here learning and sharing, and we hear from great speakers, and it's bipartisan. I mean, one of our speakers this week is going to be the governor of Colorado, who's a Democrat. So we will take ideas if they're good from anybody if we can make our state better.
Representative Murphy, I want to go back to a little Missouri politics, if you don't mind. Yeah. We've got a couple of weeks left until the campaign, the primary on August 8th. I've been in politics a while, and I got to tell you, the negative ads in this campaign cycle, Republicans have not been as vicious and as bad as they've been in the past. Now, there is a particular race, and they're running ads on our station where they're going after each other. But the tone has been more civil and more issue-oriented this cycle. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think it has been. I think the down ballot ones, other than the governor, have been kind of quiet. I'm a little surprised. I think we'll probably see more of that in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Although I'll tell you a funny story. I was at the doors the other day, and a lady came and said, "Will you tell me about this governor's race?" She says, "I keep seeing commercials, and every one of them says that the other guy's selling our land to China." She said, "Which one's telling the truth?" I said, "Well, they all are, kind of. It depends on what vote it was that they took." I said, "But don't worry about it. China's not going to steal our land, and they're not going to take it back to China. It's still going to be here, and we're going to protect you in the legislature." So yeah, it's silly time on the advertising, but they haven't been too vicious. There's been a little bit of it, but that's part of the blood sport of politics. If you can't stand the heat, don't get into this thing,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Representative, one thing that we need to remind people of is to do their homework right before they walk into the ballot. You and I and Chris and everybody else who happens to be on the the inner sanctum of all this, and we may know a few more details than the average day duck. We know these names, most of them, but people need to realize this ballot is a long one this year. There are 3 front runners for governor, but people are going to see nine or 10 names on the ballot. There are 7 people running for lieutenant governor. There's 8 people running for secretary of state. And so people need to, the sample ballots came this week to my house. I assume everybody got a copy. You need to open that up. You need to look at it because, Jim, we're making some important decisions, aren't we? This is kind of a generational shift in Missouri politics. A lot of younger people running for office, and they could be in some of these statewide offices for years, if not decades to come, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We have a representative government, and everybody thinks they know every issue, but that's why we have a representative government. Is you elect people that will concentrate on the details, which is what we do. But then it comes an election time, and nobody's been paying attention. Nobody really has paid attention to the details. But now is the time to really pay attention and not believe all of the things you see on TV and all of the ads, but there are ways of verifying those. And one of the ways is asking the people that have been paying attention. I always appreciate it when constituents call me and say, "Tell me the truth. Who do you see?" And I will never give them a nonpartisan kind of answer to it. I will tell them the pros and cons of everybody I have interacted with and the bills that they've put forth and voted on. And some of the votes may look bad, but some of them are necessary, even though they look bad because maybe the idea was good, but the bill was bad. And there's some of that goes on. But leaning on people that have paid attention is not a bad thing to do. And I'm not proposing any particular candidates. Just if you're going to vote knowledgeable. There's some knowledge behind it.
And Representative Murphy, this past session was a wild legislative session. I think everyone would agree to that. Next year, there won't be an election. What should we expect in the legislature next year? So are we all going to fall asleep, or are we going to have any excitement?
Well, I don't know what you mean by excitement. I think if it's exciting to me to actually get some stuff done. Part of our problem is we get sometimes tied up in the big issues and all of the little issues, the things that our constituents bring to us on a day-to-day basis that they've got a problem with in their political subdivision, and we can fix. They get pushed aside a lot of times during these big issue debates. I'd like to see a year where we really just pay attention to what the voters have asked us to do and just finish it. Some people call that sludge. I don't call it sludge. I call it doing the people's work.
Jim, before we let you go this afternoon, I want to wrap up with the reason that we're all out here in Denver, Colorado, and that's the A.L.E.C annual meeting. What are you looking forward to, and and most importantly for our listeners, what knowledge on various policy issues are you hoping to bring back to Missouri? What are the different meetings that you're going to attend, and what are you looking forward to learning from at this particular annual meeting?
Yeah, there's a couple of issues that we all need to learn about. One is AI, and how is that affecting not only our day-to-day lives, but how is it going to affect our political world? How is it going to affect the way information is brought forward to us, and how do we tell the truth from what's not true? Because it's all getting very, very, very sophisticated at this point. There's some seminars on AI that I'm very, very interested in. Of course, tax reform and is always tops on my list. We always need to take the burden away from our citizens the best way we can and run our government more efficiently. And I think that's something I'm hoping to gain some knowledge on while we're here. I study it quite often, but every time I come here, I walk back with great ideas, great thoughts from other legislators around the country. So, they're the things I'm looking at here. Education reform, I think, is a big issue that is also at the top of the list on that. But there's just so much information to be had here. One of the things we're looking at is I'm meeting with FAIR on a border visit that I'm taking 35 of our legislators down to the border in September. I'm looking forward to that. And that all started out, from contacts I made in A.L.E.C. So, this is a great organization. It's great information sharing and some great legislators from around the country, that we get to share ideas with. And it's just a wonderful place to be.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to seeing you
Jim,
later today.
Yeah, Jim, we're going to let you go for now, and we'll see you later this evening.
Okay, there, Mr. Speaker. And Chris, take care of that guy, will you?
I will.
We all try. That's Representative Jim Murphy of the great county of St. Louis. Chris, before we go to a break, I'm going to squeeze in a speaker stump speech here. And I'm going to refocus our conversation on something you and I were talking about throughout the show. And that is crazy Kamala Harris as being the brand new nominee and kicking Joe Biden to the curb. Let's kick that off right now.
Listen to me. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Well, because so many of the great conservative thinkers of our day listen, obviously, to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, I thought we'd focus on one of the subjects that they're talking about this afternoon. National Review just issued a couple of headlines that are right in line and a perfect segue into the Speaker Stump Speech, because we actually talked about this at the beginning of the show and in our third segment last hour. Here, listen to this headline. Democrats are united around Kamala, but chaos still reigns. Yeah, folks, I know they're trying to put on a bright, shiny face, but behind the scenes, I mean, it came out in front of the scenes with Chuck Schumer's press conference there. They're very nervous. They didn't necessarily see this coming. I mean, I think they were preparing for it. I think they've been trying to get the Bidens out of the way for probably close to a year, but the Bidens refused to budge. As Chris said, it took the fundraising to completely dry up and whatever promises, which I think there were promises made to the Bidens to make sure they'd be taken care of for not seeking the renomination. But they're nervous. You can hear it in Chuck Schumer's voice. They're not sure because they know Kamala. They know that just because she's the nominee, she's not going to magically come out of a genie bottle and be some brand new person who doesn't weirdly giggle, like Chris's great impersonation there, doesn't make strange protestations about Venn diagrams, electric buses, and going to the moon, talking about coconut trees. Wait a minute. Why are we racist? Which I've heard we are again, because we mentioned that Kamala talked about the coconut tree. She was the one that brought that up. So the headline from National Review this afternoon about the chaos still reigning, I think that's absolutely true. Listen to the sub-headline here. Kamala Harris is a grievously cracked vessel being asked to carry the hopes of a Democratic coalition that barely agrees with itself and has failed to persuade the country. That's what's going on behind the scenes. Now, you're not going to hear that on CNN. You're not going to hear that on MSDNC, but you're going to hear it here because it's the truth. And finally, the second headline, creating the cult of Kamala, whether it's a product, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier in the show, whether it's a product of motivated reasoning or now wishful thinking, the race is on to make America's famous SAT word here, famously maladroit vice president into a cultural sensation. Yeah, folks, like everything the Democrats do, this is all just fake fairy tales. This is fantasy land. There is no brand new Kamala Harris. We've got the same one we've had for the last 3.5 years as vice president, the one who has absolutely failed to do any of her duties, even the one that Joe Biden has specifically assigned to her. Hello, border czar. And that's the Speaker Stump Speech for today. Chris, they're trying to reinvent her, and I'm not sure they can, and I'm not sure she can reinvent herself.
I just hope that the American people could get a good chance to vet her on a debate stage and in press conferences and not in scripted teleprompter situations.
Yes.
So the public can see who she really is. Because that's what they're going to do, Tim. They're going to have her very scripted. They're going to make her look as presidential as they can. And she's going to have media that's going to be propping her up as well.
Yes. They're going to run a version of the Joe Biden basement campaign that they did 3.5 years ago. They're going to try to do the same thing with Kamala. You're absolutely right. Chris, it's 5:26 in the great state of Missouri. It's 4:26 out here at Denver time. Whatever time it is where you are, guess what's going to happen in about 5 or 6 minutes? We're going to talk to Dr. Randy Tobler. He's going to join Chris and I next here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1. Thanks for listening to News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We still have a chance for some spot showers or thunder showers through the evening, although after sunset, most of them tend to fade away. These are pretty small, so most of us stay dry, but just a heads up, some of us will get a quick shower. And then overnight tonight, low of 71, pretty muggy start, patchy fog in the morning, a high of 91, a little hotter Wednesday afternoon. About a 15% chance again the afternoon to evening for one of these stray showers or thunder showers. Thursday, it's about a 20% chance, slightly better chances, but they are pretty isolated. 89 for the high on Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
What happens next?
I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged.
Happens right here.
Go back and look at what she's done as vice president. Very little, if anything.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
How are the windows at your homestead? Do I make you, are you starting to wonder now, how are my windows? Well, if you need new windows, or if you'd like to have someone come out and check out the windows you have and see if you're ready for new windows, I want you to give a call to our great supporters at Window World. Window World, folks, is simply the best for less. How can we say that? Well, because it's true. First of all, here's the phone number, 314-993-1800. 314-993-1800. Check out all these facts. Window World is one of only 2 window companies in the entire country that carries the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Coveted indeed. Just over 20 years in the business. Window World, which is located right here in St. Louis. They got this huge, beautiful facility out in Earth City, right off of Interstate 70. They've improved the look and thermal efficiency of 70,000 customers in the St. Louis region and beyond. Why is that? Well, because the products are fantastic. Double strength of glass, giving Window World windows a strength not commonly used in replacement windows. They're incredibly durable. The thermal efficiency is not something you pay extra for. It's built right in. These windows come in all shapes and sizes, whatever you might need. Window World also does siding. They do entry doors. They do sliding glass doors. Beautiful products from top to bottom. And last but not least, they carry a true lifetime warranty. These will be the last windows you ever purchase. How fantastic is that? Yes, it covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And check out this deal. Window World offering 0% financing plans. Yeah, as in none. 0% financing plans for up to 36 months for qualified customers and buyers, really separating themselves from all of the other competition, second to none. Window World, simply the best for less. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800, 24/7, always at windowworld.com. That's windowworld.com.
On August 6th, your vote will shape our community's future. Introducing Representatives John Simmons and Kyle Marquardt, 2 candidates with starkly different records. John Simmons, a staunch conservative, has consistently cut taxes and defended parents' rights for education choice. He believes in limited government and safeguarding our privacy. Simmons even championed legislation to secure our elections, ensuring integrity at every step. In contrast, Kyle Marquardt voted to expand welfare and increase government spending, and also supported invasive, warrantless government drone searches. When it comes to protecting your rights and hard-earned money, the choice is clear. John Simmons is not just making promises, he's delivered real results. It's time to make your voice heard in the Republican primary. Vote John Simmons, the representative with the proven conservative voting record. Paid for by Nova PAC, James Murphy, Treasurer.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is A.L.E.C with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmoscholars.org. That's herzogmoscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Follow Tim Jones on Twitter at Speaker Tim Jones.
Talking about takebacks. I was told I was going to get to debate Kamala Harris, and now President Trump's going to get to debate her. I'm kind of pissed off about that, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, but I think the Donald can handle her as well. Chris, it's 5:32 in the Heartland. Time to bring in our next guest to see what he thinks about all this news of the day and more.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work. The world of forensic medicine. Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
As he does every Tuesday afternoon around this time, the good Dr. Randy Tobler joins us once again at Randy Tobler MD on Twitter X and every Saturday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. here at News Talk STL. Doc, despite what the media allies of the DNC, and boy, do they have plenty of them, are trying to tell us about the reinvented brand new Kamala Harris, I'm not sure why that would happen or be so. Doc, do you think J.D. Vance or Donald Trump or whoever that gets to debate Kamala Harris, do they have anything to worry about? Is there something that we're missing here?
You know, I don't know. I cannot figure out, Tim, I couldn't have, in my wildest Stephen King, Tom Clancy, who else can I put in there? Mindset, come up with the scenario that's being developed here. No, and they're going to need someone of that talent to try to reinvent Kamala to make her palatable. I mean, they're going to have to teach her how not to laugh, how not to do word salad, how to reverse a myriad progressive positions that make AOC look like John Birch. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how this is all going to work out, but it's going to be fun to watch.
Sure
Dr.
is.
Tobler, the Harris campaign is out test driving slogans, and it seems like the one that they have picked is it's a former prosecutor versus a convicted felon. One, I want to get your thoughts. Do you think that'll be effective? And we see the media is already trying to prop Kamala up on the Drudge Report today in red letters. An exclusive poll by Ipsos Reuters. Harris leads Trump 44-42, which is probably in the margin of error. But your thoughts on those two things?
Well, I don't want to say I told everyone so, but I told everyone so that as much Donald Trump has going on his side for policy and empiric evidence of a good presidency until COVID, he's got some baggage. And guess what? They've engineered this. I believe they've engineered this for much, much longer than any of us know, to have a prosecutor there so that they can continue hammering the outcomes of the lawfare that any rational and objective person knows is a bunch of BS. However, most voters are not immersed. They're not engaged. They vote emotionally. And I think it's really going to be something that's going to be quite successful for her. That whole, I'm the prosecutor, he's the convict, look at me. Now, she's got a lot of hypocrisy during her prosecutorial days, and there's certainly a lot of policy matters and behavioral problems she has. But I think I can understand why polls are going to be a lot closer in the end with Kamala than they would have been with Joe Biden. And the other thing is, I think they timed this right, because this honeymoon period is not going to expire before the election occurs. And I think that's another problem that frankly the Republicans are going to have to wrestle with.
Yeah. And so, Dr. Tobler, I know we had this brief period where Joe Biden, because of the debate, did absolutely so horrifically that all the focus turned on the fact that he could not do the job. And hey, that's a heck of a platform to run on, right? If one guy looks awake and alert and cognizant and able to put sentences together, and the other guy can't do any of those things, then you really don't have to dig down deeper in anything else, right, Doc? You can just run on that. And so for a brief period of time, it looked like the Republicans had nothing but massive wind in the sails. But now that the media, and even the media had to admit all that too, right? Well, now that the media can pretend that Kamala is a good nominee, she's not, would be a good president, she won't be. We need to turn the focus, Doc, don't we, back to the policy positions, because that's where the argument ultimately really lies, right? Are you better now than you were 3.5 years ago? Were you better under the Trump years before the China virus, or were you not? Look at what's happening to the American worker now. We really got to hammer home how bad the policy positions are versus the better ones under Trump, don't we?
Right. You're right. And look, I think if the Republicans and the Trump campaign can successfully take the spotlight off of where she wants it to be, which is those silly convictions and the increasingly irrelevant and dismissed lawsuits, or criminal actions by Jack Smith, I think that, that can be helpful. And you know what? We shouldn't dismiss the fact either that I think a properly aimed and powered campaign against the sustained cover-up that she was a intimate participant in, right? I mean, she met with Joe Biden every month. What kind of a character is it that just because you're the lady in waiting, the queen apparent to the DEI hire of the century, never having gotten a delegate vote in the primaries, so you'd go to that extreme to cover up the fact that this man had eroding cognitive abilities, the man that holds the nuclear football? Really? You want to talk about character, Kamala? So they're going to have to be as aggressive on that behavioral matter and others as while they focus on the procedural and the policy questions. So I think they do have a good argument, but I think it now becomes more important than ever that Donald Trump realize that, look, you know more than anyone as an attorney. I don't know whether they pick you guys to stay measured when everyone else is losing their mind and getting emotional, or if you learn that, or maybe it's a bit of both. But she is going to be able to keep her cool, calm, and collected in a debate. And if she gets under his skin and he looks like a wild animal and she keeps her cool for all of her rhetorical problems, that's not going to fare well for Donald. I think, look, I think the new Donald we've seen that's a more measured and more disciplined one is a good thing. If he continues down that road and if he focuses on policy, look, if we lose this election to Kamala Harris, all is lost. All is lost. Yeah. We might as well start looking for some liberty-loving and uninhabited as of yet island in the mid-Pacific.
And I want to add to that, Dr. Tobler, some advice. I think we as Republicans should stay away from the Montel Williams, Willie Brown jokes. We know that Kamala has a suspect history when it comes to her career and her advancement, but that's one thing that I think we should definitely stay away from. I want to get your thoughts on RFK Jr. has reported that he had talks with Trump last month about endorsing his campaign and taking a job with the campaign. Now that we've had this new development with Biden dropping out, should they do that?
This is really interesting. I think that Trump actually would get along a lot better with RFK than you might imagine, because RFK is a bit of a rogue. He's a counterculture guy in many respects, even though some of his policies are considered progressive. But he questions authority. And I think there's something there, to use the Harris phrase, those Venn diagrams overlap a little bit. And I don't know. I mean, that would be the end of the campaign. If RFK were to somehow endorse Trump and Trump could find it palatable enough and to make it somehow work and not alienate the base and de-energize the base, that would be an interesting soup, wouldn't it? I mean, I think it'd be fascinating to see. But I love that spirit of anti-authoritarianism with RFK. It's nice. That's one thing I like about it.
Finally, Dr. Tobler, before we let you go, your thoughts on J.D. Vance as the running mate for Donald Trump. What do you think he brings to the ticket? And what do you think he should focus on policy-wise as we head towards November?
In retrospect, look, this is like the manager in the bottom of the ninth, the seventh game of the World Series, and you've got you got a lefty on the mound, and you got a right-handed cleanup hitter coming up to bat, and you've got a one-run lead, but they've got the bases loaded, and their right-handed slugger is up against your left-handy. Okay, so you pull the lefty and throw the right-handed closer in. Guess what? That other manager has the last say, and so he can put that left-handed batter in. And I think that had we known that Kamala was going to be, like I said, the ultimate DEI hire, and who knows when they play their hand on who's going to fill some of that Midwestern appeal for her in the vice presidential nominee. I think that's what they'll look for. I think that maybe someone maybe a little less Trumpian and more DEI-ish would have maybe been a better choice in retrospect. But, they thought they were running against Biden-Harris. I guess they thought that. As much as I like J.D. Vance, don't get me wrong. But I think in retrospect, knowing now that they've put their high, hard, fast right-hander in, maybe I'd like to have a left-handed batter in. I don't know.
Chris, we got time for if you want to squeeze one more in.
Yeah, I did want to ask you, I had my question here, about Benjamin Netanyahu's trip, Prime Minister of Israel, tomorrow. Kamala is skipping it. Patty Murray, the Senate pro tem senator from Washington, she is skipping it. Do you think this hurts Kamala?
Yes, it does, and it helps Donald Trump. This is going to help, I think, capture or recapture or galvanize some of the evangelicals who may be a little soft on hard borders, those that are absolutely, would be pro-Israel but don't like her Gaza stance, and maybe a little soft on abortion, and I think it might bring them more towards the right, meaning Trump and Vance, than it would otherwise. If they were already a lot of so-called and self-proclaimed, evangelicals actually vote left. They vote Democrat because of borders, because of they're soft on abortion, And so I think that this is a good move. The fact that you got a strongly anti-Israel, pro-Hamas presidential nominee on the Democrat ticket, that's going to be good to galvanize Christian conservatives. I think it'll be a good thing.
He's Dr. Randy Tobler. You can find him every Saturday morning here at News Talk STL from 6 to 9 a.m. He's also weekdays, every weekday morning, found on 93.9 Columbia's The Eagle. So if you're heading through mid-Missouri, you can tune him in there, and you can find him 24/7 at Randy Tobler MD on Twitter X. Doc, thanks so much for everything as always.
Thanks, Doc. My pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, fantastic indeed. Chris, wow, fast show. When you and I are on the road, it always goes really quickly. It's 5:44 in the PM here in the St. Louis lands.
We need another hour.
Segment. We do.
We need another hour today. Seriously, this is one of those days where we literally need another hour.
We both
Sorry,
been
Larry.
talking really fast to try to jam everything else in. But yeah, Larry. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Larry Connors is coming up next. He's at 6:05. When we come back, Chris will give us all of the information you need to know about what you can expect to hear from Larry and whatever else we may need to get to. And there's plenty to get to. I'm sure we've left out some major things. So we'll try to tackle all that when we come back. Producer Joey V in studio. Chris and I in beautiful Denver, Colorado. One final segment today for the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Don't go anywhere. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Don't get brazen with me.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We still have a chance for some spot showers or thunder showers through the evening, although after sunset, most of them tend to fade away. These are pretty small, so most of us stay dry, but just a heads up, some of us will get a quick shower. And then overnight tonight, low of 71, pretty muggy start, patchy fog in the morning, a high of 91, a little hotter Wednesday afternoon. About a 15% chance again the afternoon to evening for one of these stray showers or thunder showers. Thursday, it's about a 20% chance, slightly better chances, but they are pretty isolated. 89 for the high on Thursday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
So the president is going to address the nation Wednesday evening. I'm sure it's going to be really inspirational. We'll preview it for you on Wednesday.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Hey, don't let summer slip by without you taking care of everything you need to take care of in your backyard or around the, if you have a business that's got some property on it. Have your trees been damaged this spring or summer from all of the freaking storm? I'd be surprised if your trees had no damage. Come on. You should probably get Hanson's Tree Service. You should get Hanson's Tree Service out to your home or your business today so they can check everything out. You probably need some pruning and some other things. You don't want those limbs crashing down this winter. Hanson's is expert insured tree care and so much more. Green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, mulch, everything else. Everything can be found online, by the way, at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com. At their beautiful, really colorful, fantastic website. You can order mulch online. They have mountains of mulch, but it goes really fast. Hassle-free estimates are available. 6 months, same as cash. You can make payments online and so much more. 636-379-1830. That is their 24-hour emergency service line and their general number. When they're open, you get a live person. When it's beyond business hours, you get the emergency line, 636-379-1830. Chad Hansen, the gang, standing by 24/7 to take care of all your tree care, shrubbery, fauna, flora needs, and including that awesome organic mulch, which has free delivery to many locations in the St. Louis metro and beyond. You can book a tree inspection today. You can book appointments online. You can order that mulch, like I said, 6 months, same as cash financing, and so much more. 636-379-1830, 24/7. Chad Hansen and the gang standing by to assist you at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
Liberal mega donors are always looking for new rhinos to do their bidding. And with Adam Schnelting, they found their new star. Adam Schnelting has already backed their radical plan to defund our police. And he skipped countless important conservative votes. Skipped a vote to protect kids from sexually explicit materials in school. And skipped a vote to protect churches from junk lawsuits. It's no wonder Adam Schnelting is bankrolled by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's top funders. Bill Cristofanelli is the only leader we can trust to protect our conservative priorities. When radicals tried to defund the police, Bill Cristofanelli passed record funding from Missouri's law enforcement. When Joe Biden left our southern border wide open, conservative Bill Cristofanelli banned sanctuary cities and voted to send Missouri National Guard troops to secure the border. Vote Bill Cristofanelli, the proven conservative, for state senate.
Gladius PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Gladius PAC, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
549 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim and I from the beautiful Mile High city of Denver for the 51st annual A.L.E.C conference. We will be here for the next couple of days. And you know what, Tim? We're not the only ones that are traveling. Looking here on the stream, our good friend Amy Mazzara is in Seattle. So she is out of town as well. We were going back and forth on the stream. It's like, that's a place that I would love to visit, but I would never want to live out there because it's cloudy 80% of the time, and I'd be on suicide watch if I lived in the great Northwest.
I completely agree. You know, Chris, I've been very blessed to have the experience of travel for many decades in life. Got to travel all over the world and all over the U.S. I have a few states left, though, I have to knock out. I have not spent any time in the Pacific Northwest. I've been through a couple airports there. I don't think that counts. I need to go see the places you mentioned. I need to see Washington, Oregon, like you said, just to visit. And let's see, I did Idaho, Montana. I haven't been to Big Sky Country, and North and South Dakota. I think those are the ones I have left.
You know, I found out a few years ago that I actually have Arps family in Oregon. A couple of generations ago, like my great uncles, there was like 8 or 9 of them in every generation, and one of them moved out to Oregon, and none of us even knew about it. And I connected up on Facebook and through the genealogy things, and I was like, I thought all the Arps were in Texas. There's actually Arps in Oregon. So that surprised me. I don't know how they live up there from Texas to Oregon. big climate change, but it is what it is. Tim, one of the big issues of this campaign, of course, is going to be illegal immigration and the border. And, Kamala Harris is riding high right now. She's got a lot of goodwill. But the border issue, of course, is going to be back on the screen, maybe sooner than they think. Here's a story on the ABC News website today that says hundreds of migrants from around a dozen countries left from Mexico's southern border on foot Sunday as they attempt to make it to the U.S. border. Some of the members of the group said they hope to make it to the U.S. border before elections are held in November because they fear that if Donald Trump wins, he will follow through on a promise to close the border to asylum seekers. So Kamala's riding high right now, but she's got a big border problem or a big problem that's heading north.
Right, because Chris, if there is going to be a debate, and I don't know that they want to put Kamala on a debate stage with anybody, but they might be forced to. Isn't that the first question that Donald Trump asks her? How has the border become such a catastrophe when you're the border czar? I mean, they have to see that freight train coming, so they're either going to try to avoid it, or they're going to come up with some baloney answer as to why things are as bad as they are, because that issue, for like the first time, I think in modern memory, is affecting voters, right? Voters have inflation, immigration, and the overall economy as their top concerns.
Mm-hmm. And what's humorous to me is they know that the border illegal immigration is going to be an issue for Kamala, and she was supposed to be put in charge of it. So I've been hearing them over the weekend saying she was not in charge of the border. What she was in charge of was working with these countries in South America to help their economies, to keep their people up from coming north. And I was like, yeah, that is what she was tasked to do. But Joe Biden, her boss, tagged her with the border czar moniker, not us.
That's
he
right.
called her the border czar. He called her the border czar. So if the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah, and if she wants to make that argument, then you can just come right back to her and say, well, aren't you part of this administration? The administration. She is going to have to own all of the failures of this administration or explain why she didn't speak up. She can't just sit there and go, well, I'm subordinate to the president. And so, you have your own mind. You're an independent individual, and you either accept it all, or you're basically an in-house Benedict Arnold. I mean, it's one or the other. She can't have it both ways. She can't have zero responsibility for any of the disasters that have occurred under the Biden-Harris administration. That's how we always refer to these administrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trump, Pence, Biden, Harris, right? It's Obama, Biden. And so she's part and parcel of it. She's going to have to own up to it. Or, Chris, as you said earlier, they're just going to try to run the Biden basement plan like they did 4 years ago. And they're going to try to keep her on script, on teleprompter, and away from debates and anything that would not be a friendly interview.
And I talked about this yesterday. You may not have heard this. This is an AP story, which the timing is perfect when it comes to what we just talked about, the mass exodus of people heading north that are illegal. Listen to this, Tim. This is an AP story. Migrants now have to proactively volunteer that they fear being deported, which could help them stay rather than being asked that question first by Border Patrol. That's a shift from a policy that previously was in place since 1997, and advocates warn that vulnerable people are getting booted because they don't know they need to say those magic words. Are you kidding me? We're basically giving them instructions. Say these words. I mean, that's what the cartels do. The cartels give these people instructions on how to get past the border guard. Now our own government is telling the illegals how to get past the border guard. Amazing.
Becoming a citizen of the United States shouldn't be dependent on you playing the game properly, right? It should be subject to the laws, rules, and regulations of the country, period, the end. And if those laws, rules, and regulations are broken, then Congress needs to fix them. Joe Biden and the DC Democrats had the opportunity to do that during the first 2 years that they had all three branches. Both branches of Congress and the executive. They could have passed a law. They chose not to. It's almost as if they want the problem to campaign on and never to solve, and then to say to everyone who's not in this country, oh, we're the ones who want you to come here for a better life. Meanwhile, they're destroying the social safety net that Democrats have been so proud of creating over the last 70 years. The recipe they've ultimately created here is one of ultimate disaster. And I guess it's going to have to be the Republicans because nobody else is stepping up to be willing to fix it.
Exactly. And I brought this story up too yesterday. Tim, acting ICE director P.J. Leckleitner, he is saying that some large Democratic areas are quietly reconsidering their sanctuary policies and increasing cooperation with federal officials over growing public safety fears. Why did it take everything that's happened to our citizens from the illegal immigrants for them to realize that it's common sense that we need to have some type of rigors with our border? Crazy.
Nobody else in the world does what we do. Every other country has, and now some of the European countries that didn't are now having secure borders. We should have secure borders if we want a country, if we want to continue to be the world superpower. Otherwise, it's all just going to come crashing and imploding in on itself.
Tim, we made it work somehow here in Denver. Up next is Larry Connors USA. He's going to talk about the Secret Service director resigning, Harris's baggage on abortion, and Mika Brzezinski says Trump is racist because of how he pronounced Kamala. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe. Have a great evening.
Dreaming of upgrading your outdoor space? STL FenceWorks is the choice for you. Our skilled craftsmen build custom fences from modern vinyl to classic ornamental, fitting your style and budget. Elevate your outdoor living with low-maintenance decks designed to relax and entertain. We choose only top-quality American-made materials, ensuring your project is built to last. Your satisfaction is our passion. With over 50 years of experience, custom designs, and exceptional customer service, visit stlfenceworks.com today.
Are you tired of establishment politics? Meet Adam